All right, folks. So we're going to do a few pre-reading activities before we begin our novel of Mice and Men. And the first one is talking about our nation from a historical perspective in terms of what was going on in the country at the time of this novel was set. All right. It's extremely important that you understand this so you understand our characters, their plight, what they are doing, and why they are doing it. So, standards focus, historical context, the Great Depression. One of the worst periods in United States history was a time called the Great Depression. The many theories about the specific causes of this era are debated. However, the widespread poverty and social despair that resulted are indisputable. During the 20s, America was experiencing a great time of prosperity and living a life of excess. People had a lot of money and weren't afraid to spend it on new inventions such as automobiles, refrigerators, and the radio. For the first time, people had credit cards and were spending more than they made. Individuals were living life to the fullest, and the U.S. economy began to thrive at an unprecedented rate. On October 24th, 1929, a day came to be called Black Thursday. The stock market began to crash. This meant that the value of money had lost its worth. Essentially, what someone could have bought with $1 the day before now cost $3 to $5. Although President Herbert Hoover declared the economic collapse a passing incident, a few days later, following Black Tuesday, on October 29th, the economy continued its downward spiral. Businesses could no longer afford to pay their workers and began laying off hundreds of thousands of people. Banks could not afford to give people their money and were forced to declare bankruptcy. People's life savings suddenly disappeared, and as a result, people could not afford to pay their house payments or buy food, clothing, or other necessities. Because people had no money, harvesting and manufacturers of new crops and products slowed drastically. Since many had no money to buy food, production slowed, and even more people lost their jobs. By 1932, 30%, about 16 to 20 million people of the American population, was unemployed. Since people couldn't work, they couldn't pay their debts, and many were left homeless. When inflation, a rise in prices, hit, even more people were homeless and jobless, forced to beg, borrow, and steal food just to survive. Because the American people could no longer afford to spend money, the economy worsened. In 1932, FDR was elected president of the United States in hopes that he could turn the economy around and help those who were suffering. Despite changes such as the New Deal, which helped instill faith in the government by introducing new programs such as Social Security, unemployment insurance, and disability insurance, mass unemployment and economic stagnation continued for several years. The onset of World War II soon sparked the economy as foreign countries began to buy from the American producers. While the Great Depression officially ended after the United States entered World War II in 1941, the scars of extreme poverty and despair had left their mark, and the Great Depression continues to be viewed as one of the most difficult periods in U.S. history. So obviously, the reason we read about this is that Of Mice and Men is set during the Great Depression, okay? And our two main characters, George and Lenny, are drastically affected, searching for jobs. They have no money and no means to provide any sort of stable living for themselves. And that is very important that you understand as we go through this novel and see what our characters face. Now, this is an assignment worth points, and I expect you to complete some of these questions back here. I would like to see you complete number 3, 4, 5, and 7. I'm going to post this as an assignment, and you are going to create your own doc, attach it to this assignment, and submit it. Let me know if you have any questions.